Hello and welcome to the Forces Sports Show, your weekly roundup of the best action and biggest stories from across the services, coming up in the next half hour. Improvements to be made. The UK Armed Forces have beaten again ahead of the Kentish Cup. Silver lining, the Royal Navy end the Inter-Services Rugby League on a high against the RAF. Bitten in the Big Apple, the British military golfers are sunk by the USA at the Simpson Cup in New York. We start with football, where the UK Armed Forces have lost their final warm-up game before they defend the Kentish Cup. The team are hoping for a record fourth title in a row at the tournament, played against the French and Dutch forces. The UKAF team were looking for a strong test, but were beaten 4-0 by Bristol City's under-23s. John Knighton was watching.
The UKAF players were keen to up the tempo after a 4-1 loss to the South Wales Students a fortnight ago. And against a talented young Bristol City team, they more than held their own in the first half with few chances. Daniel Stoneman's cross almost turned into his own net by City's Bradley Webb, the best chance of the first half. After the break, UKAF tried to be more expansive but conceded soon after the restart. Ricardo Reese's shot parried onto the bar by Luke Kearney, but Sam Bell was quickest to follow up. He then headed a second soon after, the influential George Dowling putting Sam Pearson through, and his cross was perfectly met by Bell. Danny Earl came closest in the second half with this turn and shot just wide for UKAF, but Joe Gorman, the substitute goalkeeper for UK Armed Forces, won't want to be reminded of the third, which started with a UKAF attack, but Reese nipped in to score when Gorman really should have cleared the ball away. And the fourth was an unfortunate own goal. Pearson's cross headed into his own net by Carl Evans. Individual errors then costing the team the game.
It's quality tells, John. There is a reason why the way we play the fixture. We want to play against professional footballers because we believe they're the right test for the Kentish Cup, and quality tells. We possibly did not help ourselves. We made a number of individual errors, but as a group, the message is do the basics brilliantly, and we didn't do the basics very well at all. So we were punished.
The Army may have completed a clean sweep of titles in the Inter-Services Rugby League, but more than just pride was at stake in the final round of matches. Silverware was up for grabs as the Royal Navy and RAF teams met in Portsmouth. Kath Brazier watched the action at Burnaby Road.
A game with nothing riding on it can often end in disappointment, but this battle on the south coast produced a much tighter contest in the senior men's game than the two previous matches against the Army, with the Blues sharing 11 tries between them as the advantage swung from side to side. Sam Breeze bulldozed through for the RAF's first score on just 8 minutes. But the Navy hit back almost immediately through Sean Houghton. In quick succession, the Air Force's Nathan Barker replied. But then a brace of tries from Josh Coupland put the Navy ahead for the first time. Number one, an impressive take from this kick to the corner. Number two, a tricky handoff from Buenamasi saw Coupland cross the line again. The senior service leading 12-10 at half-time. After the break, Jamie Birdsall picked up on a loose ball to get the second half underway. Ben Mellor retaliated, but with the score tied at 16-all, a period of frustration ensued with two massive hits on Navy players. Shawit Tapua sin-bin for this one. The Navy then racked up another couple from Houghton. And despite two last-minute scores from the Light Blues, it was the hosts who won the contest. Their final act of the match was a drop goal to give them a 29 points to 24 victory. Darren Bamford was awarded man of the match, but the game belonged to B, his last as a player for Royal Navy Rugby League.
Perfect, couldn't ask for a better finish to my 13-year span with RNRL. I'm proud of the lads. The night we dig deep was hard, but tonight was not about me. It's about the boys and the association moving forward of what happened 2 weeks ago at Aldershot.
But we've been in a dark place this week after last week's performance. We had 7 new caps last week, a further one this week. So expectations weren't, well, attitude-wise, we wanted a reaction from last week, and I think we got that tonight. We're in a better place now than when we started the game, and we can only be stronger going forward.
Earlier in the day, the RAF ladies took an early lead in their final match-up, an unattainable one as it turned out. This chip-and-charge try from Navy captain Sam Alderson, the only score for the Dark Blues as the Air Force crossed 5 times. Alex Barnes and Linda McLean both getting themselves on the score sheet, all converted successfully by Sophie Gale. The RAF eventual winners 30 points to 4.
I mean, I've been playing for 8 years, but this is the first time I've seen us win on this pitch, and it feels amazing. We held ourselves off a couple of times in defence, which made it hard. But you know what, we came back and we took it to them, and you know what, they didn't want the ball half the time, so it made it our game.
Definitely dominated in parts, and we've got quite a new team. This is the first year we've had a solid team throughout inter-services and a solid base that we've worked from. So the performance reflected that. We had parts that were good and obviously parts that were bad, and that's just reflection of who we've got and the time we've had together.
An entertaining afternoon then at Burnaby Road as this year's inter-services came to an end. The academy match ended in a 36-14 win for the Royal Navy, but all 6 teams involved here will be looking to beat the Army come 2019.
The new man in charge of Army Rugby Union says he's confident they can regain the inter-services title. With the new season underway, Major Bernie Bernard is looking to make his mark after successful years under the watch of Andy Sanger. The Intercorps Festival of Rugby kicked off the new Army Rugby season. Between now and next spring, there will be a steady stream of fixtures at corps and unit level. For the very best players, there is the chance to put forward claims of representing the Army senior side and the opportunity to feature in the Inter-Services Championship. In the selection hot seat is Major Bernie Bernard. He succeeded Andy Sanger as Army head coach and admits it's a high-pressure role.
There's always pressure at Army elite sport level, but like I say, it's a huge privilege. I like to think that I've got the character and the background, and also, more importantly, the playing group where we can potentially be successful.
Last season saw the Royal Air Force crowned Inter-Services champions, beating both the Army and Royal Navy. Bernard is full of respect for his force's rivals. With the Army facing the Airmen at the home of Premiership side Gloucester in this year's title race, he knows he's in for a tough challenge to see his Army team return to the top.
The other 2 services have been absolutely fantastic, and they've built a team in both camps that compete, and that's what I want. I want to be involved in a competitive championship. That's certainly what we got, and I'll make sure the Army team is well prepared as we can be, so that, you know, if we stick to our processes, we'll give a good account for ourselves, and then hopefully it'll be a good game at Gloucester and at Twickenham, and it'll be loads for the crowd to turn up and cheer about.
The Army senior side season gets underway when they face the students of Oxford University. With less than 3 weeks to go now until the Invictus Games, one of the event's main sponsors has held a driving day at Eastnor Castle in Herefordshire. Members of the UK team joined rugby stars Sam Warburton and Jason Robinson as they were tested over various courses and obstacles. Kath reports.
The Jaguar Land Rover Challenge traditionally kicks things off at the Invictus Games. Orlando and Toronto both held their competition before the opening ceremony. It's also the first chance of a medal. Team UK's Olaf Jones and Gareth Patterson grabbing a silver last year. 29 Invictus competitors were invited to Eastnor Castle. Joining them, former Wales and British and Irish Lions captain Sam Warburton and England World Cup winner Jason Robinson. Warburton keeping busy following his recent retirement from international rugby.
You're dealing with people who been role models, and they're still inspirational people, and what they're doing is great. Like, I'm a retired player now, and I can see from their point of view to still be involved in competition and be part of a team and have that sense of belonging must be fantastic still.
Jason Robinson was involved in the first ever Invictus held in London in 2014. He played in the exhibition wheelchair rugby match with Prince Harry and has kept a close eye on the games ever since.
All of a sudden, being part of that, seeing the crowds, speaking to people and hearing their stories and the challenges, and then seeing, at what level they perform is just kind of, it's mind-blowing. If you've never seen the Invictus Games, go to one of the events and you'll be hooked for life, because it is inspiring. But you know, the competitiveness of them, and I love that. Obviously, being ex-rugby, you know, I want to see people get stuck in, and you see the wheelchair rugby events, and people are flying out of chairs and that, and it's you know, it is full on.
It was Jason's job to announce the winners of the day. From the original 29, it was whittled down to 2. Daniel Bingley and UK team captain Dot Perkins, the pairing who'll represent UK on the first day of competition in Sydney.
I think there's going to be a wonderful feel because it's in the old Olympic Park as well. When I speak to my colleagues at the BBC, for example, about, you know, what is the best Olympics they ever worked on, they all talk about Sydney. You know, it really was sort of the gold standard, and so I do think that Australia will deliver. And so that's an exciting aspect of it. I'm also liking the way that it's sort of branded this year. It's feeling quite rock and roll. It's very celebratory. It's sort of, and I think 2014 was very much that. It was sort of, all right, this is the terrible thing that happened to us once upon a time. We've put that in our past, and we're here to showcase the individuals that we are now. JJ, of course, understands what Invictus means to these athletes, and he still makes sure the Games are top of his very busy schedule. As important to those who've competed as it is to those who are doing so for the first time.
On to golf, and the British military players have been beaten by their American counterparts at the Simpson Cup in New York. The match play tournament is contested annually by disabled ex-servicemen from Great Britain and the United States. John has the action.
The British team faced an uphill struggle to win back the championship at Maidstone in New York after the first day foursomes, where they trailed by 5-1. It included this wonder chip from the USA's Alex Happer, who'd made light of the challenging conditions, which helped put the home players in the driving seat. Overnight rain had meant the tournament had to be switched from the west to the east course at Maidstone, and it helped the British players, led by their captain Mike Brown, to make a strong start. They went on to win 2 of the 4 opening rounds and halve the next 2, and they would win another 4 of the 13 singles, where more than half of the games were settled on the 18th hole. It wasn't quite enough though, as Andrew Bachelder of the USA, as he'd done last year, carried them through 1 up over Neil Flynn to get the all-important winning point. But the 11-8 score reflects so well on the British players, who'll take great heart from their fight back. The tournament is played over the same format lines as the Ryder Cup, and next year the British players will look to win it back when they take on the old course at St Andrews as well as the USA.
The Forces boxing squads are back in training for the new season. The Army team have a point to prove after losing their 34-year hold on the Inter-Services crown to the Royal Navy. The fighters have an eye on success at national level as well. The Army boxing season is up and running as members of the team have returned to the gym following their brief summer hiatus. The squad have enjoyed plenty of success on the national and international circuit in recent years, becoming effectively one of the most competitive clubs in the country. For lead coach Sergeant James Allen, there is no time to reflect on previous glories. 2018 saw the Army lose their Inter-Services crown for the first time in over 30 years, as the Royal Navy were victorious. Allen admits it was painful to let go of the prize.
Personally, it hurt quite badly because I've been part of that winning team for the last 13, 14 years, since like 2004, 2005. So, yeah, it hurt, and obviously 35 years it would have been on the spin, so I think it would have hurt a lot of others who've been involved in that as well.
The squad regrouped well following their disappointment and used defeat to spur them on at the National Amateur Boxing Association finals. 7 Army athletes made the ABA finals, with 4 lifting titles. The target for this year will be to maintain their prominence on the domestic front, but also to win back their Forces title.
Obviously, I want that title back. We lost it last year. I was the first coach in 35 years to do that. I want it back, so that's the main goal.
Allen's quest to claw back the coveted crown has been boosted thanks to the addition of former team captain Ches Nihel to his backroom staff as an assistant coach. Nihel has professional ambitions in the sport and, following his super heavyweight title victory at the ABA's last season, has hung up his Army vest and turned pro.
For me, you know, Combined Services, Haringey Boss Cup, England title belt. The main one at the top was always the English Elite ABA title, and then my last bout for the team was in the finals, and obviously I won it. So that was, for me, that was always a holy grail. So now it's moving on to what I can do next. You know, I'm 31 years old, so it's now or never. I'm at the top of my game, so I feel like as a pro that I'll take it to the next level.
Nihal brings a wealth of boxing experience to the younger athletes in the squad. The member of 27 Regiment RLC will combine his own boxing aspirations with those still competing for the team. However, his time on the team and achievements in the ring have been heralded with his nomination for the Army Sportsman of the Year award.
Over the moon to be nominated in the top 3 out of every soldier in the army. It's a massive honour, and I'm absolutely honoured, and I can't wait to go to the Sports Awards.
In the meantime, Nihal will be hoping to inspire future generations of army boxers to greatness and help them to regain their force's crown.
There's been more success for Forces show jumpers. The UK Armed Forces manager, Army Captain Emily Cooper, has qualified for the Olympia jumping semi-finals. She won the 1m10 jump title at the RAF Championships, riding Real Touch, a horse she's only been working with for a few weeks. More ahead of the Invictus Games now. Team UK swimmers are stepping up preparations for the competition in Australia later this month. Over the 3 previous games, the Brits have done well in the pool, so it's a good chance for medals in Sydney, as Kath reports.
In the pool, it's all down to you, but by no means are you on your own. In London, Orlando and Toronto, the swimming support reached a raucous level. So preparing this lot for that kind of atmosphere is just one part of these training weekends. Meanwhile, their skills are being honed by GB coaches and swimming technique specialists. Royal Air Force Sergeant Paul Twitchell is still serving, but was medically downgraded with PTSD. As part of a bomb disposal team, he's experienced some dark times, but his family and now Invictus have helped him see the light again.
I've become almost addicted to the fears and to the sports that I've chosen, and especially the sitting volleyball and the swimming. It's a daily part of my life now. So every lunchtime I'm doing circuits, I'm doing spinning, I'm going swimming, I'm going running, and now I've been off the alcohol since last November. So my wife's happy because I'm happy.
Many competitors like Paul find themselves part of a new family when they become an Invictus athlete. The team cohesion's so strong, they're almost inseparable.
We all get on really well, don't we?
Yeah, a bit of banter keeps it going.
A bit of a laugh.
A laugh. But no, we support each other and really pushing each other through each sport and really looking forward to it.
It is that freedom to be you, and you're not disabled and you're not a category, you're just you. And I think, being around the Invictus crowd as well, it's comfortable and it's you can be yourself, you can breathe, because when you're away from that, a lot of the time, I'm based still in Germany, you are a singular entity and you are an oddity in that.
It's a stat in life.
You're a weirdo.
Yeah.
So to
you're
come
not
here,
judged, are you?
No
one judges you. I know when I first came along to my camp, I was like, oh,
here we go.
Oh God, yeah, here we go. I'm gonna get funny looks and
like half naked in a costume. You just meeting people.
Yeah. But nobody does. No, absolutely nobody cares. Nobody cares.
We're all in the same position.
We're all in the same boat.
Yeah.
No one is more disabled than anyone else. We're all the same. It's all one level. I used to cry before going on my trial camps, whatever. And my wife would drop me off at the station. I'd cry so much, and then they'd be like, "Just go on, give it a go." And I didn't. And I was like, "Well, here I am."
These swimmers will persevere with their own training as the games draw near. Hopefully, the UK swim team will continue to make a splash in the pool.
And finally, double Olympic champion Dame Kelly Holmes has been appointed Honorary Colonel of the Royal Armoured Corps Training Regiment. Dame Kelly served in the Army for 10 years. She made history at the Athens Games in 2004 as the first woman to win gold in the middle distance double of 800 and 1500 metres. It's the first time the appointment has been made for a regular regiment. She says she wants to inspire troops to be the best they can be.
Having had a military career, nearly 10 years, I'm very proud of that career. I'm not sure I thought I'd be back here now, back in my greens, but I am. To be given the role of Honorary Colonel for a regular unit, it's the first time that's ever happened. It's been signed off by the Queen, it's changed Army policy, and it's me, so I'm very proud. I hope through this role that I can, one, be an inspiration to recruits. Secondly, I'm very much onto the sort of equality, the opportunities for women, mental health in the forces and in society, which I push, so hopefully I can bring that to the plate as well.
And that is it for this week. Don't forget you can see all the action as we get it on forces.net and this show and more on YouTube. With the Inter-Services Rugby League wrapped up for another year, we'll leave you with some of the best action from the tournament. Bye for now.